This video, this one's gonna surprise you because your answer's not what you think it's gonna be. In all my speaking engagements and run camps that I've done all over the world, it's inevitable when I talk about speed training, I'll get the question or the comment from a runner who is not so interested in getting faster. They are into running as a health activity and maybe more endurance. You know, a lot of endurance runners think speed's not important if they're running very long, but I can't emphasize enough how important speed training is for health, is for longevity in running, is for making your body feel good. And I'm headed home, but I'm gonna leave you with a question until I get home. If I was to ask you, if you looked at the knee flexion and the range of motion of the leg to a marathon runner and compare that to a sprinter, who's gonna have greater range of motion? The sprinter or the marathon runner? And as you're thinking about this question, also keep in mind the key, when I mention speed training, we're talking about 10, 15, 20, 30-second intervals that are relatively fast for you. Anything longer and it becomes strength intervals. So again, when I talk about speed training, these are very short and very fun. 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds. See you at home. All right, before we dive into today's tutorial, I want to go back to the point on speed. While I was out for my run, I talked about how good speed training is for health as runners, for endurance as runners, and longevity. It makes us feel good. It creates better rubber bands. It creates better muscles. It creates better elastic energy. So specifically today, I'm talking about the benefits of speed training for this purpose of creating better leg stiffness. And if you need to refer to one of my previous videos about what leg stiffness is, I'll tag that at the end of this video. It's important to understand what leg stiffness is. It's good for you. And doing very short, very fast for you, sprinting, it creates great leg stiffness training that we're going to talk about today that's beneficial for so many reasons and beneficial for so many different types of runners. Don't underestimate how important speed training is for all the things that you want out of your running. All right, let's hit it. Let me ask the question again with a little bit more context and a little bit more visual. We have two elite runners, a marathoner and a 100-meter sprinter. Comparing the two when they run, who's going to get more range of motion when they land and take off? And the range of motion that I'm talking about is this motion here. It's not the distance per stride that I'm talking about. But again, when we land and take off, who's going to have greater range of motion this way? The sprinter or the marathoner? Actually, they're both going to have the same. If you look at a marathoner's land, their stance, their range of motion is right about there before they take off. And that's no different than a sprinter. You're going to watch a sprinter from the side as they sprint down the track. They're going to land right about there's their range of motion. They're going to take off. So regardless of distance, or therefore how fast we're running, our range of motion is no more than about this. Okay, that's good leg stiffness. That's good elite leg stiffness. We land, there's hardly any movement here. We get off of it quickly with a good rubber band. If you watched one of my videos last week, talked all about what leg stiffness is, of how certain muscles have rubber bands or springs or elastic energy in the muscles. So when we land, we take off quickly. It's like stretching that rubber band. When we land, taking off is letting go of the rubber band. So again, we land, stretch the rubber band, take off, let the rubber band go. The quicker, faster we do that, the better rubber band we can have. But what we're going to talk about today is where that foundation starts, and it starts with the feet. If you're going to build this house, would you build the walls first? No, you're going to pour the foundation. You're going to pour the footers, pun intended. But most athletes, most runners train the walls first, and maybe only train the walls, or kind of what's happening up through here with our legs. We've got to go way down to our feet and train what I call the foot core. Back in 2013, I think I did an article for Outside Magazine, and I coined the term foot core because I wanted people to understand how important our feet are for running and for athleticism. As runners, everything we do is with our feet. But what I want to talk about today is we talk about that rubber band that springs us forward, having a good rubber band. The first rubber band that we utilize when we run is in our feet, in our arch. So when we land, we stretch that rubber band in the arch. That also stretches the spring in the calf, the rubber band in the calf, and it springs us forward when we take off or letting go of that rubber band. So our first line of defense from a stability standpoint and an elastic energy standpoint, being athletic, being healthy as runners, starts with the feet. So we've got to train the foundation first. We're going to build that house. We're pouring the cement. We're pouring the footers, and that's the foot core. And I've got some simple, but very, very potent exercises for you to dive into today. If you have my book, The Cool Impossible, or Born to Run 2, you guys know all about how important this is. So maybe this is a reminder. This channel is all about talking to you guys who have read the books to maybe add some progression or to re-emphasize how important it is, or maybe teach it in a different way than in a book so you do realize how important it is. Okay, so we're going to attack the foot core today. Okay, and we're going to do that first by simply just balancing on one foot. And we're always doing this barefoot, no socks, no shoes. Okay, and as you balance barefoot, I want you just to shift your weight around a little bit, maybe shift your weight a little forward so you can feel your big toe engage. And we're kind of hold in that position. A lot of this strength is isometric strength or holding strength. Isometric strength is crucial for developing a better rubber band, for developing better elastic energy, because it trains and it strengthens the muscles and tendons to have better elastic energy, or to be able to have a better, more snappy rubber band. Okay, that's why isometric strength is so important. Okay, and that's what a lot of the foot core is. There's not a lot of movement. We're balancing and holding our position to get that isometric strength. So we're training the muscles and the tendons to be much more elastic. Okay, so again, you're balancing, shift your weight so you can kind of feel that big toe engage. That big toe is our first line of stabilization. So we activate our arch. All you are is balancing. All we are now is creating stability and isometric strength for that foot, for the arch. Okay, and you can shake it out and then obviously do the other foot. Okay, the key with this is that we don't want to bend the leg a whole lot. We want to try to keep the leg as straight as possible. Okay, so that puts a lot of challenge onto the foot, but also helps activate the glute. And that's going to be important. The more we kind of bend and try to balance this way, the more we activate our quad and the more we shut off our glute, and the harder it is to stabilize. So if you find yourself bending too much here, if you have tight hip flexors, really try to challenge the tight hip flexor and straighten that leg. So now you're not only stable from your feet, but now you're activating the glute, which again, another key potent part of foot core is training the feet to turn on the whole electrical system all the way up through our bodies. Most runners, their electrical system is not activating muscles. They might have the good strength, but they're not activating it. And they're not turning the switch on. They're not turning the light bulb on. That is probably the most deficient type of strength I see runners have, is that it's a neuromuscular disconnect. Again, it's not that they don't have the strength or the muscle, they're just not turning it on. And we can turn this on by starting with how we train our feet. You can get it, you can just stand in this position balancing, you're gonna start feeling it in the glute, and we'll do more in a minute that you're really gonna start to feel it, okay? So now we're gonna progress from just balancing flat-footed to maybe grabbing some poles or maybe grab a chair to help you out, and we're gonna balance on our forefoot now. We're gonna just elevate the heel, and again, shift your weight, keep the leg straight so you can engage that big toe, which engages the arch. And now we're really doing some isometric holding to really tax the foot core, strengthen that arch to create a better rubber band, to create a better athlete. And as far as time holding this, just do it to a level of where you start to feel fatigue. We don't want to overdo it. This is potent. It's not going to take very much. Okay, so I'd rather you do less more often than think you got to gut through, a minute or so, and then you end up losing form and you're just gutting through it and completely getting away from the purpose of doing it. So again, really straight leg. Just lift the heel off the ground. Doesn't have to be way up. Okay, just feel strong. Just lift that heel off and really kind of engage the glute, and you're gonna feel it everywhere, really. But I tell people in my camps and my athletes, you're gonna feel it where your weakest link is. Someone might start to feel it right immediately in the calf. Maybe it's right in the arch in the feet, or someone who's strong down below the knee, they're gonna start to feel it in the glute, okay? But eventually, you're gonna feel it first where your weakest link is, so be aware of that, and it'll work its way up the leg, and eventually you wanna get strong enough below the knee, in the calf, and in the arch, so where then you start to really feel it in the glute, okay? So then, progression from that, now try and elevate the heel, and take away the pole and see if you can balance with no pole or no chair. If that's a little too challenging, have one pole or use the wall. Find ways to create a little challenge. And again, you don't want to go so long that you start to balance and bend that knee, okay? You want to keep form integrity as best you can and balance from your foot, not with your whole body. You don't want to be all over the place, okay? So if it's too much, too challenging for you, grab that one pole and balance, and you'll find that one hand of the pole is easier than the other. Okay, so this is a little easier, having the hand in the same leg that's balancing, and then progress to here, which will be a little bit more challenging, and then take away the pole. Okay, super, super potent. All right, let's get back to the elastic energy, the rubber band part, and talk a little bit about run form and how foot core helps with form. So I want you to try three things. First, let's jump up and down, just nice and normal. I don't have to teach you, I don't have to coach you how to do it. You're just naturally jumping up and down with a subtle forefoot to heel strike, right? Feels good. You can do this for quite a while. Now, let's go and strike first with our heel. You can hear that, you can see that. Boy, that doesn't feel very good. Can't do it for very long, and you certainly aren't engaging the big toe for stabilization, nor are you stretching the rubber band, okay? And now, third, let's go flat-footed, okay? Not quite as harsh as the heel, but you can still hear and see how that's just a harsher landing that's not utilizing our natural elastic energy that feels so good when we're on our forefoot. So take that into consideration with doing foot core and how foot core can help you transition to better form. Like I've mentioned in a lot of videos, changing your run form is not just a decision. You can't just decide to go out the door and change everything you've done the last 10 years. It's going to take time. It's neuromuscular. It's a skill. You have to train it. So you have to be patient. But I'm telling you this to hopefully maybe motivate you a little bit. We're going into the off season now. Now's a great time to spend a couple months helping yourself transition to a more subtle forefoot to heel. And again, we're not keeping our heels off the ground. It's subtle. Okay? Just jump in place and you'll get it. But the point being with the run form, foot core helps the transition, and you get the benefits of doing the foot core that you get from run form. So they work hand in hand. Be patient as you transition to more and better forefoot striking. Okay? So now let's take a little bit of progression with the foot core. Now we want to have poles. We don't want to try this without poles. Okay? So we're going to go back to our one leg balance. Now I'm on my forefoot. I'm elevating the heel, again, just off the ground to where I feel strong. If we go too high with the heel, we lose some strength. So just elevate the heel to where it feels strong to you, okay? And now in that position, again, engage the glute with a straight leg and feel the engagement and stability with your big toe, okay? And now we're gonna add a little bit of a side lift with the other leg. Again, it's nice and controlled. 3, I might go 10, 15, 20. Again, do as many that you can do based on your strength. We don't want to gut through it. We don't want to strain. We don't want to get to where we're going too much and again, losing integrity of our form. We want that leg straight. We want this nice and controlled. It's not fast. We're not getting range of motion. It's not for this leg. This moving leg is just adding stability challenge for the isometric hold of this leg. So it's just going to make it more challenging, and the poles are helping us to be able to do it. If we did this without the poles, it'd be way too challenging and we would lose form. We would have to move around too much. So again, we want to use the poles, straight leg, and just nice controlled side movement. Take it up to the side as far as you can without a whole lot of movement with your hips, okay? And then just switch. Again, feel your engagement with the big toe, elevate the heel, and just nice and controlled, straight leg. And just go to where you feel it's a successful challenge to you, and just switch legs. Okay? And then the next one, back to the other leg. Again, elevate the heel a little bit, engage the big toe, straight leg, and now we're just going to lift that knee in front of you. Again, same thing. It's not fast, nice and controlled. Take it up as high as the knee can go without this leg bending. Okay? And a little bit of a pause because that's going to activate your glute, and back down. So nice and controlled, lift as high as you can, a little pause, activate the glute, and back down. If you have tight hip flexors, okay, you're going to try to lift this leg, and the tight hip flexors aren't going to let you, so you're going to start to do this. I'll turn to the side. So again, imagine tight hip flexors here. I'm trying to lift this knee as high as I can. I'm going to start going like this. Okay, we don't want that. Only lift that knee as high as the hip flexors will allow you to keep this leg straight, okay? And that'll actually help them, okay, through time. So just a little tutorial today inside. Try this out. Again, it's super, super potent. Start easy, see how you feel the next day. This is why I coined it the foot core. If we have the idea of how often we can train our normal core, okay, quite frequently. okay? They're smaller muscles. They don't need as much recovery as bigger muscles. So maybe start 2 to 3 times a week, but then also do a round or 2 as a run warm-up before you go out the door. Again, this is neuromuscular, so by doing this, part of the purpose of it is turning the electrical system on. How I'm using my feet turn my glutes on. So now you're flipping the switch of the electrical system before you go out the door, and you have all these muscles activated for when you run. One of the best types of warm-up you can do, it takes 5 minutes. Don't spend any more than 5 minutes when you're doing it before a warm-up. That doesn't need more than that. Again, you're just flipping the switch. Give this a try. If you haven't already done so, refer to the end of the video to the video I post on leg stiffness and get a better understanding of what leg stiffness is, because that's the basis of starting now with the feet and working our way up. And we'll just progress all the way up through the body as we get into these tutorials as winter comes in Jackson Hole. So over and out from home, Jackson Hole, Born to Run World. See you guys.